Hi everybody, welcome to the third video in our video series, PLSD Going One-to-One. And in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about how school is going to be different by going to the Chromebooks and the iPads and doing things a little bit more digitally and a little bit less with paper. Alright, so obviously every time that we want to make some type of a big change like this, we really want it to definitely positively impact teaching and learning. So when we wrote the technology plan, we really wrote it with the idea of changing how school is done and making some changes that'll be a little bit different for you and a little bit different for how you've gone about things at your home. And then also, giving you a little bit more of ability to see into what the kids are doing. So first of all, let's talk about the major piece that we're going to need to talk about, and that was with Google. So obviously these are Chromebooks. Chromebooks run on the Chrome platform. So kids are going to be using these different types of apps. They're not going to be using Microsoft or Apple products. They're going to be using Chrome products. So Drive, which includes Google Docs and Google Sheets, Google Hangouts. They'll have access to Google Calendar. They'll have access to Google Drive, which will store all of their material. Okay, Chromebooks are a web-based device, so it means there's a very little hard drive on their actual device, and most of the stuff is stored in the cloud via the internet. So with this, our goal, and this is going to take a little while, just like any other big initiative that you go through, it's going to take us a few years to actually get to fruition on this. But the goal is less worksheets and more things that are done digitally on the device. So in thinking about how you ask your kids, do you have homework? Do you have assignments? Things like that. They're not going to be bringing home paper as much as what they have in the past. You're going to need to ask them, what's on your Chromebook? What can I see? And for that, the main place that you're going to want to go to and talk to them about is Google Classroom. All right, Google Classroom is what's called a learning management system, and Google Classroom, we're calling it our digital hub for all of our student work. Here you can see a picture of what one of the classrooms looks like inside of Google Classroom. So all of our teachers, grades 2 and above, are expected to have a Google Classroom by the end of the first semester. Some of them already have it. Some of them will jump into it, day one with Google Classroom. And this is where they're going to post all of the assignments at. So kids can actually go on here as soon as they get into class. The teacher will have the assignment up with today's expectations or directions. And then from there, they can actually download a copy of the assignment and then do the assignment and then actually turn it back in through Google Classroom. So really, there's no, I have to print this out or I have to print that out, or, I put down here at the bottom of this, there's no more I left it at school, because all of this is done online and you can access it wherever you're at via the Chromebook. So one of the things that I would recommend parents do is that you ask on a, maybe a weekly basis or however it is that you want to know, ask your kids to log into their Google Classroom. And see what's going on. They should have a classroom for each of their different subjects. So they'll have one for English language arts, they'll have one for math, one for science, one for social study, and then whatever other elective type courses they're taking at the junior high or the high school. But the nice thing about this is that kids can get instant feedback from the teacher. The teacher can write notes right on the Google Docs, or they can even give voice comments as well too. So we've seen in the middle school last year that papers were getting turned back quicker, assignments were getting back quicker, I should say, and teachers were able to give more feedback than what they had if it was just a regular paper pencil thing. The other thing that I like about going with Google Classroom is let's say you're in a junior high or you're in a high school and you're doing a large essay project. All right. For the most part, kids don't get teacher feedback until the very end. Where this way now the teachers can actually look in and see what the kids are working on and give feedback as the paper is being written. So Google just allows us far more feedback, far more things to be able to share with the kids. There is A couple other pieces with Google Classroom that you'll need to know. Let me show you a couple examples of kind of what Google Classroom looks like. Unfortunately, I don't have a actual Google Classroom with kids in it. We actually use Google Classroom with our teachers for professional development. So you'll see here, this is one of our staff members who did actually a Google Classroom on how to do Google Classroom. So this is, you can see here, there's the assignment, there's the material there, there's 3 different pieces there, 2 videos that she created and a Google Sheet. You can see there's 12 people that were done with the assignment, 8 people that were not done with the assignment. So that's the teacher view of things. The teacher can actually see who's turned it in, who hasn't turned it in. And then you can see down at the bottom there are class comments as well too. So if kids are struggling with things, all the class comments show up. The teachers can make those comments so that the entire class can see them, or just the teacher and the kid can see those. So there's all kinds of different feedback and ways for kids to help each other and for the teachers to be able to get information out. Here's another example. You can see now another menu in Google Classroom, another video. 2 kids have it done. 14 have not turned it in, and it's been returned back to 4 students. So the teachers have a really good idea of who's done with things, who's not done with things, where they're at, so on and so forth. And then just another example, same thing. We can list up to, I think it's 20 different resources in each side of each assignment. So along with that, Google Classroom does now have the availability for parents to get a email. And it turns into a weekly summary. Here's a good example of this. So if you wish, what you have to do is you have to give your email address, so your personal email address, to the teachers or teacher, and then ask them to add it into Parent Access. We've showed all the teachers how to open up Parent Access. And all it does is it doesn't necessarily give you access to Google Classroom, but it gives you this weekly or daily summary that says students are missing these assignments and then due next week. So it depends on how far the teacher is putting things in, but it allows you to see kind of into the classroom. You don't actually get access. You can't get into student work. You can't get into student data or anything like that. But it gives you a good idea of what's going on in Google Classroom during those times. And you would get one of those from each one of the Google Classrooms. So if the kids involved in 6 different Google Classrooms, it would need to be set up 6 different times, and you would get 6 different emails on that. All right. The other thing that I encourage you to do is Google Classroom syncs with Google Calendar. So if I'm a teacher and I go in and I put an assignment in and I say that assignment is due in a week, it will actually put an assignment notification into Google Calendar for my students. All right. So parents, what I would encourage you to do is I would encourage you then to ask your student to share their Google Calendar with you. Now, you'll have to have a Google Calendar to make this work. And there's a link right there, the tiny URL at the bottom of the screen. That will then allow you to share, or them to share their calendar with you. You can always look and see when things are due, when things are done. You can see the different colors that are on there. Those different colors are the different classes. So they will have their main calendar, and then underneath that, they'll have individual calendars for each one of their Google Classrooms. So you may have to share multiple calendars as you go through this. But it's just another way for parents to be able to keep track of when are assignments due, what's coming up, what are my kids doing in school, and you can see it right through Google Calendar. All right, the other goal of this project was really to start looking at how we can enhance teaching and learning with more digital content and less books. Pickerington Schools a few years ago made the decision to stop purchasing textbooks for regular classes, and we haven't done that. We haven't purchased textbooks for regular classes for probably the last 3 or 4 years or so. But what we've invested in is more of these digital content type pieces, digital content that gives us more relevant materials. I can give you an example. We have a AP social studies book that we're still using. We used last year. And it's 3 or 4 presidents out of date. So when you purchase textbooks like that, that is a huge investment, and you've got to use those same textbooks for probably the next 8 to 10 years, or even longer in that case. So with that, with the digital content, it's a little bit cheaper and it's a little bit easier. It's far easier to get more up-to-date information. So that's the direction that we've gone. We've gone about 40 or so different digital content providers. And with that, not every grade level has 40, so 40 across the entire school district. But if you go to this website there, pickerington.k12.oh.us/applications, that will give you a list and links to all of our different digital content that we have. Now, there are still some things that we need textbooks for. We are required by law to have textbooks for AP courses and for CCP courses. We are working with some of those to try to provide online textbooks. So you still will see some textbooks coming home. Some teachers haven't made that transition yet. We're still having kids read physical books. They're still getting books from the media centers and reading those types of things. So it's not like we're getting rid of all books or anything, but we're adding in more of these digital content, which is a little bit more up to date, far more interactive than a textbook, and far more easier to get kids engaged in their learning. The goal of this is to transition more and more into the digital and less from paper as we go further one-to-one, but that's going to take a few years. It's going to take us a little while to get there. So some of these major digital content providers that I just kind of wanted to give you a couple web links here for. Classroom's the biggest one by far. There it is, classroom.google.com, and you'll need your students' Google username and password to be able to log into that. The other one is Clever. This is a really nice program that we purchased. With a lot of these different apps, they all have different passwords and usernames and logins. So we use a program called Clever, and kids can use this as a single sign-on. So they can get onto numerous different programs straight through Clever. They log in with their Google address and username and password, and then from there, they're able to get onto 20, 30 of these different programs that we have across the district. The other thing that we started last year was we started an online library. Kids can access this 24/7 and 365 days. So we had kids checking out books all summer. It's the Pickerington Overdrive online library. So we're purchasing actual fiction, nonfiction type books right through this, and students can read these directly on their one-to-one device. We're working with the English department as well as the media center specialists and media center aides to purchase relevant books that our kids are interested in. And then the other thing, just to mention it again, there is that link for all of the different applications that we use across the district. Please feel free to check that out, and you can see the different links. So beyond this, the other thing I want to do to kind of share with you is we're going beyond the device as well too. We're looking at what else is out there to help our students learn. And here's just a few little things that we're doing with our technology teachers and some computer science type stuff and virtual reality experiences. So we're going to have some of our kids this year are going to be able to work with computer science and start the idea of coding. And we're going to do that through drones and robots and some of these other little toys and tools. The other thing is field trips are really expensive and they take a lot of time to either plan or actually even to do. So some of the things that we're doing now is we're doing virtual reality experiences with our kids. So we're able to take kids to the beach, take kids underwater, take kids to national parks, take kids to, science things, all these different virtual reality field trips. We have all of these different classroom kits of goggles that kids can have. So all kinds of really interesting things. We're even moving into science classrooms with scientific data collecting probes that kids can use to collect temperatures and relative humidity and so on and so forth from all kinds of different things. So we're looking beyond the device as well too, to what's out there that can help our kids learn and give them the best experiences so they're prepared for life outside of the 13 years that they're here at school. So once again, school is changing. School is going to look different. It's not going to be the same. Here's a worksheet, finish this worksheet, or here's this textbook. We'll start on day one on page 1 and hopefully get to the end of the book by the end of the school year. It's going to look different. There's going to be lots of different pieces and lots of different parts and different engaging online digital tools that kids are going to be using. So I encourage you to ask your kids, let me see your Google Classroom, let me see what's going on in there. And you can actually go back through and you can scroll through and see all of the assignments for the entire school year are still left in there. Also talk about, Google Calendar and being able to get that set up. There's directions on there. I'll include all of these different links down in the notes here on YouTube, so that way you can access all of those as well too. But it's going to change. It's going to take us a little while to get there, but our teachers are really excited about it. I think our kids are excited about it, and I hope, parents, that you're excited about the changes that we're making here in Pickerington Schools and going more towards a digital curriculum instead of the old traditional outdated paper pencil type of a method. So thank you very much. The last video in this series is going to be FAQs, and that's coming up right now.